Hi, it's Steve and Joe from Freshagenda, and we're here with a bit of a milk pricing update for the Australian industry. Could also be of interest to some of our overseas subscribers to our videos. But this is a bit of a wrap-up, Steve, of what's happened with milk pricing. As local industry people know, we have a 1st of June deadline now mandated under our code. This is the second year of operation of the code. All dairy companies have to lodge their offers of opening prices for the coming season by the 1st of June. Our season starts on the 1st of July.
1st of June. 2
p.m. on the 1st of June. Milk price day. That happened just over a week ago, but since then, really, the activity is still been pretty hectic.
Yeah. So it is quite a different situation to most other countries. I mean, and hopefully this is of interest to how milk is bought in this market, because it's there is, I would say, it's a fairly sophisticated milk buying marketplace. Where, and we'll show the variability in contract terms and structures as part of this little video, just to give people an overview. When you consider how much notice people are getting, prices are. Most companies give single year pricing, but there's 2 or 3 years in some of this, and highly structured. So there's plenty of detail in the signals. But yeah, hopefully this is irrelevant. But it is a good chance to catch up with what's happened and why.
Yeah, so the first thing, what's changed since last year? So again, that 1st of June deadline is really driving behaviour for companies. Some companies did go ahead of the 1st of June deadline, but we're finding, given that milk production in Australia is static to declining, but we've got a lot of companies in operation here. Competition still remains strong. So what that really means, Steve, is that by the 1st of June or a week after the 1st of June, companies are coming out with their very best price. So traditionally we used to see, companies come out with an opening price about 90% of where they reckon they'd finish. Yeah, when it was an opening price. And traditionally you might get a step up before Christmas and then maybe one after Christmas. Really what we're seeing is opening prices are probably including that traditional first step up, aren't they?
Pretty foolish, because you've got...
And we mean foolish, not foolish.
Yeah. We wouldn't say that. So because you've got a number of what we call flat milk buyers or buying for fresh application or domestic market use, they are operating with a fair bit of certainty as to what their full year market's looking like, or what their milk cost budget is. So they are confidently putting out a full year price, particularly fresh milk players. And because we're seeing that market being sourced by manufacturers as well, it does put a lot of pressure. So it puts a lot of spine into that opening situation.
Yeah, so manufacturers competing for raw milk supply in the same regions as those fresh milk suppliers.
Yeah. Yep. So the changes, I think the game changer this year, if there is a game changer in what's happened in the way pricing has gone, is the purchase by Bega Cheese, or Bega Limited, or Bega Cheese is still called, bought Lion, which was formerly owned by Kirin, and that's integrated into a single business now, which is the largest buyer of milk. So they are collecting milk in all regions, but in the interesting area is how they essentially brought 2 different systems together into northern Victoria, which is the hot zone in terms of milk buying, and they harmonised those systems into the Bega pricing system. So that has obviously changed how Bega is going to use milk solids across the group, but it's stiffened up the competition in that region. And I guess the other thing, one of the major retailers here, Coles, is sourcing more southern milk to go ultimately into cheese. Label cheese.
So Coles had been seeking direct supply for their home brand milk, but have just announced that they're expanding that to cheese. So that's fairly significant, isn't it? In terms of the amount of milk that's involved.
So they've gone out and got a lot more milk, and paying similar price than they paid last year for that milk. So it's pretty strong pricing. So that's also raised the bar in terms of what others have got to compete with. So they're the 2 things we think have altered the dynamic. And as a result, so as you said, we've got that 1 June rush period where everyone's got to come out, they all see the prices that in that short period of time, and there's quite a few that are released in the last hour. Can you believe?
Yes,
there is a lot of activity. So when the prices were revealed, you do get some response
and some adjustments.
So when companies gone early, Fonterra, Buller, they've responded. When Bega's prices were seen by all, there was a northern differential, which was significant enough to cause a number to go back and respond again. So there's been a couple of waves.
Yeah.
So what it means, what I've pulled out here, we have an elaborate milk price calculator, which essentially interprets contract values. So you can run a farm through that, and you get the range of offers. So rather than show you all that gritty detail, here's what it looks like between the 2 years in terms of the range, and we've just picked a region and a farm because it's infinitely variable. Milk price is a misnomer because it's the value of milk in each situation. It's valued by those contracts. This just shows the ranges that applied last year and what we think this year looks like now with the contracts in there, and the average, which is the black dot. So a reasonable lift, 20 to 30 cents in the south. With that differential in the north now pulling value up, and that's been the big change, I guess. Limited change in New South Wales and Queensland fresh milk areas. While southern prices have gone up a bit, the cost base in those regions has probably gone down a bit with
feed costs easing. We've got another pretty good winter crop going in. So
so grain prices are weaker. And in Western Australia, small sector of the industry, they've had an improvement in price as well. So the only big changes really, you can see there how that farm situation varies through the year. So that's the weighted average. There's quite a bit of work in these numbers, Joanne. That's the weighted average across the year for those for that farm situation.
And again, this is just north of Victoria. We should say that this model is also the engine behind the milk value portal that everyone can access. It will be updated in the next little while when things settle down, where you can actually see for different regions, for different seasonality and farm sizes, you can see even more of the variation that's out there.
That's right. And these graphics are used in that tool.
Yes.
These are the same graphics.
Absolutely.
Good point. So just to give an overview of the complexity, and I'm not going to dive into this at all, but that's what the contract landscape looks like. In our tool, we have 70 different contracts that are being modelled in this. And they're the features. So we're really just showing what sorts of devices are used in each of those contracts.
And really, this reflects, we've got a lot of, it's quite a fragmented industry really. We've got a lot of companies competing for this pool of milk in different regions. They've got a whole range of different business models, different market focus, and different product mix. So that's really reflecting all of those requirements from different processes for the profile. And different features of milk supply, but it's complex. That's really the message.
That's right. And so what the value portal does, the industry tool, it brings that down to interpret the range of milk values that have been that are relevant in each situation. So you can vary a type of farm to see what that does, what the range is, what the average would pay based on farms that would be collected, which processes would collect that particular type of milk or that profile. So these are the workings in behind that to capture all those different incentives, penalties, all sorts of different devices. No two company profiles are the same in terms of contracts. It shows you there the regions they collect. So it is a reasonably complex landscape.
That's right. And again, this is available in the Milk Value Portal, and it is obviously processors know it's complex too. So this is a bit of an extra level of transparency above and beyond what the code requires. So
where we go from here?
So it's fair to say, it's not just competition that's pushed that price up. There's obviously some underlying strength in the commodity milk value that we monitor. But this is where we go from here is the big thing.
So that chart on the left-hand side is some recent history of the two components of price. We say milk prices are made up of two elements, a commodity value and a value capture premium, which is down to various things, but the commodity value is based on Oceania spot commodity prices, and we track those over time. And in the FY22, the season that's about to start, we have a forecast of what we think how they're going to pan out. We bring that back to a milk value.
Mm-hmm.
So at currently 6.20 to 6.30, it's firmed in the last few months.
Yes.
And right now, that spot commodity milk value is a bit over $6.60.
That's right. Yeah.
So we think that's going to track down. Our full year forecast is below where spot is.
Mm-hmm.
We think it's trending down. And if you look at futures prices and reasonably firm Australian dollar, not rising in the outlook, but we think there's a risk that goes up. But just on where futures are right now,
mm-hmm.
that's how that's trending down. So that's the expectation. Fat values are going to weaken. Powder price is going to come off a bit, and that's going to flow through into that and probably impact cheese, though that's still a variable. And in that outlook, so there's some bullish factors and some things that might limit any further price progression. Just explaining what they are there. People have got divided views on where they think China's going to go, but things are still fairly firm in China, and their milk prices are still quite high.
Mm-hmm.
Butterfat prices are, in our fundamental analysis, going to weaken because there is certainly going to be a pushback on affordability.
Sure.
And we think in our local market there's probably going to be some retail price pressure. Consumers are going to struggle. There's a pretty uneven retail market out there, and probably a lot more price consciousness is going to come into retail dynamics,
mm-hmm.
I guess. But left-hand side, there's equally strong factors that would keep it up. I mean, feed prices globally are pretty strong, and the EU milk situation is pretty tight.
Yeah, so supply is still, I guess, a big factor, and at the moment, again, very tight in Europe.
So that's a reasonable wrap. Look, thanks for watching. If you've managed to stay this long distance, longer than our normal slot, but see how we go. Thanks for watching. We'll be back soon.